Good afternoon, everyone. This is Chef Halibiki from your Culinary at 7 class. I know most of you have never met me before, so I'm going to shoot some videos, introduce myself a little bit to you guys. We're going to be, every week, we're going to be making recipes in class. So I'm going to probably shoot at least one recipe every week that you guys can look at. It's going to be one of the recipes that we're going to be making the next week in class. So next week we're going to be doing peanut butter cookies and ginger snaps. So I wanted to do the peanut butter recipe here for you today. So I've got it right over here. If you want to come over and take a look. The recipe comes from your book. It's on page 284. We're going to be making the peanut butter cookie recipe. Now, Brittany is going to be scaling all these recipes for you, so you don't have to do any scaling or anything like that. But we'll get back to that a little bit later. I'm going to post some information on that. Brittany Howard, who works as the assistant downstairs in the kitchen, she's going to scale all these recipes for you. So you'll just have to come pick them up. And the recipes will be available Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays from between 9 and 2:30. You can come in, or anybody can come in and pick them up for you. But the recipes will be all scaled. All you gotta do is take it home and make the recipes, okay? So this is, like I said, again, the peanut butter cookie recipe. This is gonna be the creaming method. So we've got butter, granulated sugar, brown sugar, peanut butter, eggs, vanilla extract, bread flour, baking powder, and salt. These last three items, the chocolate, the peanut butter, and the raisins, we're not going to scale those inclusions out for you. It's not something that I would normally add to it, although I do have peanuts here today, and I might add the peanuts in. But this is not part of an ingredient that's really necessary to the recipe. It's called an inclusion. And inclusions add flavor and texture, but not anything really to the structure. They're kind of extra. Okay, so we're going to be using my KitchenAid mixer over here, but this is a recipe that you could easily do with a little rubber spatula like this and a bowl if you had to. You have to make sure your ingredients are the right temperature. So I'm going to use a paddle on my KitchenAid mixer. First thing we're going to do is we're going to take our butters. So I've got 2 sticks of butter here, total of 8 ounces. I'm going to put that into my mixer first. I'm going to try and get them in there nicely. Then I've got my sugar bowl right here. So I've got brown sugar and granulated sugar already pre-scaled. These recipes don't really take that long to make. You should really be able to bake it or put it all together in less than 10 minutes, okay? So now I'm going to come over here. I'm going to add my sugar in here to the bowl. Come over nice and close. So I've got my granulated sugar. You see it beautifully, I hope. So I've got butter, granulated sugar, brown sugar in there. I'm going to put this down. I'm going to cream it for just a couple of minutes, really, if that long even, really. I just want to make sure I cream it so that my butter, my sugars are all blended really well. I see I've got some piece of butter stuck on there, so I'm going to get that cleaned off. Make sure it's getting incorporated. It's stuck on there again already. I'm going to turn my speed up a little bit and see if I can throw that butter chunk off. There it goes. Some of it at least. Again, I'm going to clean this off. Okay. Getting nice and close. I might be able to make sure you can see inside the bowl. Okay, so this is called the creaming method. So the first step in the creaming method is taking your hopefully room temperature ingredients like your butter, adding your sugar and your butter to it, and creaming it with a paddle. So this attachment is the paddle. You might just have a handheld mixer, which would just have like the beaters, and that'll be fine to use for this. You may not even have either of those things, and you can just use a bowl with a rubber spatula or a spoon to mix it all together with. You just want to really just kind of break it all down, make sure that the butter and the sugars and the brown sugars are all nicely incorporated. I'm going to turn it off for a minute, take a look at it. And I want to make sure that, make sure you shoot right in there. Make sure that I don't see any butter chunks at all. See a little bit of butter in here. You may not be able to see it on there, but I'm just going to mix it again for another 10 seconds, literally. And I think that's good. Okay. So now my sugar my granulated sugar, my brown sugar, my butter all nicely incorporated. I'm going to grab my peanut butter now. Here's my peanut butter. Again, like all these ingredients will be scaled for you. I'm going to add that into my fat right now. I would prefer to use some chunky peanut butter because I like chunky peanut butter, but this is just a creamy peanut butter. But if it were up to me and if I had it, I don't have it. That's why I'm using creamy peanut butter. I would definitely use chunky. Okay, so I've got my peanut butter in there now. And I'm going to make sure it gets creamed in there beautifully. Make sure you get the peanut butter spread evenly through the mixture. Shouldn't take too long. Now I'm going to lift it back up. Make sure I'm scraping my bowl. That's one of the biggest things that sometimes we have mistakes with is if we're not like scraping our bowl. We got to make sure we scrape the bowl because if we don't, we usually have a tendency to have like the sugar or the brown sugar or butter down stuck to the sides of the bowl. And that'll be a problem when we go to make the cookie because the cookie will most likely spread out too much because you got either too much butter or too much sugar in a certain certain area of the dough. Now I'm going to add my eggs and my vanilla. I like to add just a little bit at a time. In this case, we only have 2 eggs, so I'm adding 1 egg at first. I'm holding back on the other egg. We're going to mix this in and incorporate it beautifully. Like I said, it doesn't take very long. Then I'm going to scrape my bowl again. Like I said, I'm a big believer in scraping your bowl. Got to make sure you get a nice, even mixture, a homogeneous mixture where everything's incorporated. Don't hesitate to use your fingers. I usually do. I'm trying to be a little bit clean right now. Okay, so I mixed in my first egg. I scraped it. I remix. Always want to remix, and then I'm going to add my next egg. Like I said, there's only 2 eggs in this recipe. Usually I would add any types of liquids in thirds. So if I was using sour cream or milk or buttermilk or heavy cream, something like that, I would add that in a third of it at a time. I don't want to just dump all my liquids into the sugar and the butter. If I do, more than likely I'm going to get a lot of lumps. You know, I have a nice smooth batter. Okay. Got one little peanut butter chunk down there, but it looks pretty smooth. I'll mix it again for a second here. That's good. Now I've got my dry ingredients in this last bowl right here. So this has, let's see here, my bread flour, my baking powder, and my salt in there. Now, Brittany may pack your ingredients. She may pack all your dry ingredients in one container. She may pack your sugars in one container. She may put your eggs and vanilla in one container because they all go in at the same time. But I'll give you more information on that as time comes by. Okay, this is my flour, so I'm going to dump this right in. I want it all to go in at first, okay? I don't want to put a little bit in at a time. I want it all going in. Okay, all gone. So I'm going to make sure when I turn this back on, though, I want to turn it on low speed because when you get all that flour in there, if you turn it too high, poof, it's going to go flying out of the bowl. I'm kind of like on and off a little bit just to get it worked in a little bit. Then we're going to let this get incorporated. Then we're going to scrape the bowl one more time. I'm not sure if I want peanuts in my peanut butter cookie or not. Do we?
They were chopped.
What's that?
They were chopped.
Okay, maybe I'll chop them up a little bit. Okay, so now this is pretty much my cookie dough right here. I'm sure everybody's made cookies at home. Again, I want to make sure I get in here nice and get it all scraped off the bottom of the bowl. Scrape off my paddle attachment. Okay. Okay, now we're doing a little final remixing. And then now it's ready for any inclusions. So if you wanted to put the peanuts in there or the raisins, I've never had raisins in a chocolate chip cookie. Doesn't even sound good to me at all. Or if you want to put chocolate chips in there, chocolate chips, everybody loves chocolate chips. That'd be great. I'm going to where is it? Oh, here it is. I'm going to chop these peanuts up a little bit. My assistant says she wants her peanuts chopped up a little bit. It's just a little goofy little chopper I have at home. Chops up everything pretty quickly. Okay, so there's our peanuts. We're gonna dump those right in. Okay. Now I'm gonna mix these in. Make sure all those get mixed in really nicely. And I'm gonna give one last scrape. Make sure I get all the peanuts nicely incorporated. Those were just some peanuts I had in my pantry at home. I think they're a roasted peanut. The mixers sound kind of a little bit unusual. Now it's ready to go. You can see the consistency of the dough. It's pretty thick. I'm gonna take my paddle off. Usually I'll just scrape it just like this. Obviously I just washed all my hands before I started this project. Definitely with COVID nowadays, we have to make sure we're working extremely cleanly. So we're making sure that our hands are clean all the time. We're making sure our utensils are clean, work area is beautiful, sanitized. We want to make sure everybody's nice and safe. Okay, and then we're going to give it one last scrape. You can see the texture of the dough. It's nice and thick. Looks just like it should. You guys could use like little spoons if you wanted to scoop your cookies. I like to use parchment paper. So I got some parchment paper set up here a little bit. Then I'm gonna scoop my cookies. I'm gonna do nice little flat scoop cookies like that. I should be able to get 6 or 8 of these on a sheet pan. You know they're gonna spread quite a bit. So I'm gonna get like 8 cookies on here. I always wanna try and make sure I'm nice and consistent. We'll talk about that when we get into the classroom. I'm hoping that all you guys will take this class and then want to take the European pastry class, Culinary Arts 8, which starts halfway through the semester, and I'm hoping that we'll actually be into the classroom. Okay, so now I'm going to pop these into my oven. I got a 350 degree oven set. Pop them in. Ooh. Get all this stuff out of here. I'll put them in the oven. Guess I should check my oven first. So we're gonna bake these for about 15 minutes, I think. Students were always asking me, how long do we bake cookies? How long do we bake this? Really depends on how big the product is. But we're gonna come back in 15 minutes. We're gonna cut out here for a second when these come out of the oven, and we'll show you what they look like when they're all done. Okay, it's been about 18 minutes and the cookies are about ready to come out. So a little longer than I expected, but that's all right. Come on in here and take a close look. Nice and golden brown, nice and spread out. See how all the cookies are, they all look, you know, nice borders and things like that. So there's no areas where they bled out a little bit and things like that. And that's why we want to make sure we're scraping our cookies really well, or mix throughout the process. Okay, I've got another batch here ready to go in the oven. And this is going to be for next week. So that's the week that starts on the 24th. So I'll have this video posted probably by Sunday for you guys to watch. I'll give you more information. Following week, we're going to be doing scones, which I really love, and pumpkin bread as well, pumpkin quick bread. So I hope you guys enjoy the cookies this week and have a great time. Have a glass of milk, and I'll see you next week.